Hey, it's Tim with the University of Vinyl. I am back with episode 2 of Hired Guns. I was looking through all the videos I've done over the last few years, and I started this so-called new series of episodes called Hired Guns about a year ago. Episode 1 featured Steve Lukather. I'm going to leave a little link to that video if you want to maybe catch up and start there. Today I want to feature one of the all-time greats. I want to feature about 5 albums that Barry Beckett had a major role in, whether it was being a producer, a co-producer, or most importantly, playing piano, organ, maybe a little bit of synthesizer. But his acoustic piano work is absolutely breathtaking. This guy had tons of feel, and he was really about, when you listen to good piano playing, it's almost about the notes that they don't play and the space between different stanzas and different signatures that they're doing that really kind of elevates the overall piece or the overall accompaniment. And a few of these songs that I'm going to feature, Barry Beckett is kind of like the glue, the backbone on at least 2 of these songs, I think. Give them a listen after I talk about them maybe, and see what you think. So Barry Beckett, famously a co-founding member of the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, along with Pete Carr on lead guitar, Jimmy Johnson on rhythm guitar, David Hood on bass guitar, and then of course Roger Hawkins on drums. These guys were on so many incredible records in the late 1960s, all through the 1970s, all through parts of the 1980s. And I've got 5 records I want to talk about. I could do an episode on the entire Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section, but I want to just kind of focus in on Barry Beckett today. And sadly, he died pretty young. I think he was in his mid-60s when he passed away in 2009. But I want to start here. The 1979 Slow Train Coming record. Of course, Bob Dylan. This was the first kind of foray into songs about God, as Mark Knopfler famously said after kind of listening to many of these songs. Dylan's vocals on this record and Saved and Shot of Love are some of the best vocals, or one of the better vocal periods in his lifetime, in his career. I would actually argue that Rough and Rowdy Ways, he is in really fine form. Of course, his voice has degraded a bit as we are here in 2024, but go back and listen to that record if you don't have Rough and Rowdy Ways, and you will be amazed. He kind of repolished his vocals with all of those Sinatra and Standards records that he did, Shadows in the Night, etc. I am really digressing here. However, what I want to talk about is the last song on side 1, and that is When He Returns. And this song is Barry Beckett with a majestic piano line and Bob Dylan on vocals, and that is it. And it will stop you in your tracks if you have not heard this in a while. I am urging you, listen to that song, and you tell me if Bob Dylan is not one of the best vocal performers in history. And that piano, that acoustic piano playing on that song by Barry Beckett is breathtaking. Just amazing. This, of course, was recorded in Muscle Shoals in Alabama. And it is just an incredible record, and Barry Beckett is all over this thing. I do happen to have a promo version with, yes, the white label promo. There it is. I love it when I find these out in the wild, and this wasn't very expensive. And I'm not sure if MoFi did a version of this record, but really, really fantastic sounding record, especially if you can find one that's clean or in near mint condition. Okay, let's move on to another record. This one is from 1971, kind of an underrated Albert King record, Lovejoy. This was a gatefold, of course. Albert has, of course, amazing guitar on this record and some really nice vocals as well. And there is a fantastic piano part on the last song on side 2, Like a Road Leading Home. And that was recorded at Muscle Shoals. And you, as you would expect, all of the usual suspects are on that particular track from the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. Barry Beckett plays beautifully on that record. It's really kind of the glue, the backbone of the song. And this is a like I said, I think it's an underrated record. This is the one that had, Honky Tonk Woman, the lead-off track, the cover, of course, on side 1. He's got a Dylan cover, Karina, but Like a Road Leading Home was co-written by the great Dan Penn. Look up Dan Penn. What a legend as far as songwriting is concerned. Unbelievable discography. But this is another fine Barry Beckett performance, particularly on Like a Road Leading Home. And there is that gorgeous gold yellow Stax label. Next up, an artist near and dear to my heart. I am a Michigander by birth, so we've got to have some Bob Seger in here. I'm going to talk about Beautiful Loser, the title cut off of this record. His playing on that song is just incredible. I'm reaching for adjectives here, but a lot of this is just, you listen to this and it just comes through. It's from the heart. It has so much feel, so much soul, all of the stuff that he is on, and this is no exception. Beautiful Loser. And, I was thinking about this, and of course, the very first thing you hear on Main Street from Night Moves is Barry Beckett's piano, closely followed by that amazing Syrian guitar from Pete Carr, also recorded down at Muscle Shoals. And I was like, couldn't find my copy of Night Moves. I'm still trying to find it, so that's why I'm showing this one, but just know that much of Night Moves was recorded at Muscle Shoals as well, and Barry Beckett is all over that thing. Bob Seger. There's another artist who decided to go down to Muscle Shoals in the 1970s, and that, of course, is Paul Simon. And this is 1973's There Goes Ryman Simon. What a killer record. And the song that I really love, that Barry Beckett, again, he's all in. I mean, Barry Beckett is basically the architect of this song, keeping this song together, holding it together, starting the song off, and that would be one man's ceiling is another man's floor. That famous descending piano line at the opening, I could have sworn that I thought Alicia Keys had sampled that, and I was doing a search all over the internet and I couldn't find it. But when you listen to that second Alicia Keys record, so many feels and themes were pulled from those 70s Paul Simon records that were recorded down at Muscle Shoals. It's uncanny. Give a listen to One Man's Ceiling is Another Man's Floor, and you will be amazed. Last but not least, this is a song that I have talked about before on the channel. It is a reunion song from 1975. Famously, it would appear on both of the main people involved on both of their solo records that came out in the fall of 1975. Yes, I'm talking about Art Garfunkel and Paul Simon. And we've got Still Crazy after all these years, and we have Breakaway. And the song, of course, was My Little Town. And drop the needle on that song, and guess who you hear with that left hand on the piano, again with a descending figure, and that's Barry Beckett. Believe it or not, I think it's one of my favorite out of all the Simon and Garfunkel songs. My Little Town. It really kind of touches me, and it's interesting because Paul Simon in interviews was saying that he wasn't really impressed with the songs that Art had selected or written, although Art Garfunkel, of course, doesn't write a lot of stuff. He will go out and find other songs, especially if he didn't have Paul Simon to lean on. So Paul decided to write a song for Art, something a little more cutting and biting, with interesting lyrics, talking about almost an autobiographical thing, back to Queens and, the laundry hanging out in a dirty breeze, things like that. And they ended up performing it in the fall of 1975 together, along with the Boxer on Saturday Night Live. And these are two of my favorite records from the 1970s. You know what? This record, it sounds so great that, I went out and got the MoFi 2 or 3 years ago. Listening to this again, this is a sterling cut. This sounds amazing. This was a state-of-the-art recorded and engineered record when this was released in 1975. And it's a breathtaking collection of songs, but particularly My Little Town. And I listened to My Little Town on this one. This was mastered by Doug Sachs at the Mastering Lab. Both of these just sound great. You don't need to go find an audiophile version of this record. This can be found for $5 or $6 or $7. And my recommendation is to go find a Santa Maria pressing of this record. Anyway, Barry Beckett, all over that song. Not only the lead in, but the middle stanza as well, where he goes up high and he's, of course, using his right hand on the piano. So pleased to hear all of this music. And, I started to piece this idea together because I went back and listened to My Little Town again for some reason. And it kind of, I've decided to scratch an itch and dug a little bit deeper and wanted to feature Barry Beckett today. So there it is. This is episode 2 of Hired Guns. I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a comment in. I read them all. And most of the time I reply when I can. So the interaction is fantastic. It's one of the main reasons I continue to put out videos and talk about music here on my channel, the University of Vinyl, on YouTube. Thanks, everybody.